When I first started investing, I lost around $20,000, so I was $20,000 in debt, and I kind of had to dig myself out of that hole. I think this time it'll be a lot bigger crash than in 2008 for sure.
What are some tips for just preparing for a potential recession?
The biggest bad spending habit I see is going out and buying a Louis Vuitton bag. It's cool, sure, make you look cool, but like it doesn't bring you any happiness at the end of the day. I was in school, actually taking classes online with Harvard, which is a very prestigious school, and I actually dropped out to kind of start all this stuff. The thought of doing this for the rest of my life, I would probably rather like jump off a bridge.
Real quick before we get into today's interview, I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank everyone who's subscribed to this channel. It really, really helps so much, and it's the reason that I'm able to continue exploring my curiosity and talking to more and more interesting people that bring these valuable insights about how to be a better professional. My goal is to be able to share these lessons with as many people as possible, so if you've ever gotten any value from these interviews, I ask only this in return. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And please share this with someone who you think might also find value in it. Those two things help me more than you know and help me get better and better guests that bring better and better insights to the show. Thanks in advance, and let's get into today's episode.
I'm Lars Raymond. I'm 23, entrepreneur. I have two businesses, a podcast, and we're just going to be diving in that today. I'm super happy for Brody to invite me to be on the show, and excited for what we dive into. So
Yeah, great to have you, Lars. I'm excited to get into it. You've got your hands in a lot of different stuff. I know you talk about investing and a lot of mindset stuff. So I kind of just wanted to get into some of that, talk about your business, podcast, kind of everything you do, maybe get into some current events. So let's do it. So first thing I wanted to ask you is, it looks like, I want to get your take on this one and ask you a question about it. Looks like we may potentially be kind of staring down the barrel of a recession coming up either this year or next year. What are your thoughts on that? And I kind of wanted to ask you, what are some tips for just preparing for a potential recession?
yeah, absolutely. We're seeing, in my opinion, some of the craziest times we've ever seen. And it's kind of like a bubble and we're just waiting for it to burst. What I'm kind of doing to prepare myself is I'm kind of being very careful of what I'm investing in, and majority of my money right now is liquid. And I don't know, like it's a good time to invest because everything is, at discounted prices, etc., stuff like that. But I don't think we've seen the bottom price for stuff yet. So it's just kind of a waiting game for all of us right now. But I think with, interest rates and inflation, everything's just going to eventually like crash, and, just like it did in 2008. And I think this time it'll be a lot bigger crash than in 2008 for sure.
Yeah, it definitely seems like, obviously it's unprecedented times with everything that's going on. So I can definitely understand wanting to be a little conservative with your money. What are some things that you would invest in if you were going to invest in anything?
So yeah, some things I'm looking at or getting into is mostly recession-proof stocks. Things like Walmart, Lowe's, Target, just to name a few. And then also kind of like where we're heading as a, I guess, society. We're, kind of going more towards everything is energy-based. So investing in things like ChargePoint, and things that have to do with electric vehicles or sustainable energy, something along the lines of that. As well as I am looking into digital assets, but that is kind of more of a risky, option to get into. But it is definitely on the back of my mind.
Speaking of digital assets and just tech in general, I wanted to ask you too, do you have any particular apps, tech, or anything that you use in the way of investing or just following finance trends? Anything like that, kind of in that world that you use that you would recommend?
Yeah, so I use for my brokerage, I use Webull. It's by far my favorite um, investing brokerage to use. I use TradingView for all of my day trading stuff, and then I use Unusual Whales, which is kind of like a um, website where they will basically post about like large corporations or big politicians or corporations CEOs post about what they're buying or selling. And as also I use Open Insider, which is kind of the same thing. It's just seeing what the masses are buying, or sorry, not the masses, the opposite of the masses. So like corporation CEOs, etc. Um, to kind of guide what I'm going to do with my money and where I'm going to be putting it.
Very cool. Anything that you think that is kind of a common misconception that people have about investing that you see kind of when you talk to the layman, like what is a misconception that people have about investing that you think holds people back?
I think that the biggest misconception people have is they kind of play this. So we talk about this a lot in my program. It's called a buy and play dead strategy, where people will just continue to just put money into something and just, like it's just in their account. They hope it goes up, like sit there, pray, and hopefully in 10 years it'll go up. And right now, that's just not what you should be doing. You should diversify your portfolio into different assets, especially right now because everything is so crazy in the markets that if you're putting all your eggs in one basket, if you drop and break that egg, then that's it. You don't have any more. So I think that it's important to really separate those into different things like REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, ETFs, bonds, whatever. And we talk about a 60-40 split in our program. So we're 60% in stocks and then 40% in other things like bonds. So yeah, that's kind of it's kind of my thing that I see most common as a mistake is everyone's putting everything they've got into a few different stocks, and it's not the way to go about it. So
Yeah, especially in risky times that are unprecedented and have a lot going on, it seems like you would want to just diversify as much as possible, spread out your options because hopefully something will pay off if things go crazy. Could you talk about your program a little bit more? Is that one of your businesses that you're talking about?
yeah, so I started this business in November, halfway through November. It's been going amazing. We've helped hundreds of people so far in the program. Just kind of get a understanding of what investing is, because most people think it's just investing in like Tesla or something, and they just buy low, sell high, which is not really an in-depth thing. We teach them like every step of the way how to successfully do investing, as well as we dive in deep to options trading and technical analysis and stuff like that. So it's been really great. Um, yeah, I'm just building that up right now. I got 4 employees, so it's growing pretty rapidly. But kind of a rundown on that. So
Nice. What made you decide that you wanted to start that? Was it something that you were kind of getting into anyway?
for me, I had so many friends of mine like kind of where I got to 6 figures from my investments. I don't really post about that kind of stuff, but like close friends of mine knew about it, and they were all like, "Bro, like come on, help me out, like teach me how to do this stuff like that." And so I would charge them like $150 to help them, and they were making like thousands of dollars a month from me helping them with day trading or whatever else. And so I was like, I should do this on a larger scale, and so I launched it, and I really officially started gearing everything up. Took about 6 months to like build out the program, stuff like that, and then launched it and haven't turned back since.
That's awesome, man. I think a lot of the best businesses are born for service-based businesses, at least, are born from a situation like that where you're kind of doing the thing anyway. People are asking for help in one way or another, and you just make a business out of it. What have been some of the
Hmm.
challenges that you've come across as you've gotten into that and scaled that up?
I think the biggest problem that I've had is um, just not knowing about starting a business. Because I was in school, actually taking classes online with Harvard, and which is a very prestigious school, and I actually dropped out to kind of start all this stuff, and I wasn't really learning much in my business classes to how to actually scale and run a business. They teach you broad things like innovation, whatever, but as far as like running Facebook ads, how to create a funnel, how to create like lead gen, how to hire and fire employees, um, stuff like that. Like they don't really teach you that, so it's been a learning process for me. Lucky enough, I have a guy, Connor, that's works for me, who has pretty much from the start, that kind of helps me out part time. He's a mechanical engineer, is his full time job, but he's kind of like the right hand guy, that knows a little bit more about like automation, sales, stuff like that, and we've kind of just been tag teaming, learning all of it. And I mean, dude, it's so much fun though. Like once you learn all this stuff, seeing the difference it makes in your business is huge.
Learning automation of your sales is, I mean, I think it's almost essential for someone starting a business these days. It's just, you have to be able to kind of scale things up fast if you really want to grow. What about
Mhm.
taking on employees in general? What have been some challenges with that? Because you mentioned you have 4 employees now. And that's not an easy thing. A lot of times business owners get caught up in just having kind of a ceiling for themselves because they can't kind of figure out how to take on employees and manage employees the right way. How has that gone?
It's been good. So Connor, very close to Connor. We've developed kind of like a close relationship since the start. And then one of my friends, Clayton, he was actually one of the first students we had that went through the program and had really good success. So he is somebody that I know I can trust and to help grow the business. Um, and then Daniel is also another guy who's gone through the program, had him on a bunch of success, and we've taken him on to do various things with marketing and sales. And then my editor, um, technically wouldn't include him like in the actual day to day stuff, but since he's editing the content and posting it and doing all that stuff, I feel like that's a big or biggest place we get traffic from is organically. So he's to me in my eyes he's just as big of a team member as Connor or anyone else is, so it's helped out a lot. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's the biggest struggle I had was at first when we started we were hiring appointment setters, and they would start work for a week and then they'd be like, oh, this isn't for me, and I'd be like, well, fuck. Now what? So um, but yeah.
Just figuring out the right kind of positions that you needed to actually
Mhm.
scale it. I want to talk about the content a little bit too. I know you've had some pretty big success around that. Could you talk a little bit about the strategy behind that, kind of the thought behind the content, getting into things, how that's played into your successes in your business and how you've been able to grow through that?
Sure. Yeah. So I have. I think if you're trying to grow a business like an educational program or something like that, you should be the face behind it. You should be, trying to grow a personal brand, not try and grow a business brand. But I mean, it's just more of testing things to see what clicks, and then kind of doubling down on what works as far as content. Um, my other business that I have, Mindset Mastery, which is a mindset community. Um, the TikTok for that is just exploded. We did the past 4 months, less than 4 months, 216,000 followers, and then um, 54. The biggest week we had was 54,000 followers in 7 days, 20 million in a month, like views, and it just blew up. And so that kind of opened my eyes to what was like possible um, organically. I'm actually getting rid of that account now. I'm selling it just because I want to put all my effort into growing this investing company. But yeah, I mean, it's more of just a trial and error thing because I was posting on my personal like social medias for a year and I didn't see any growth. So just is what it is.
You think bringing on your editor just really helps kind of take it to another level?
For sure, because for me, like the way I look at it, if you're kind of structuring a business or trying to like get to that next level, you can't. And it was hard for me at first because I was like, I don't need to pay somebody. Like I can do all this myself, and that's just not the right mindset you want to have. If you can allocate your work to somebody else who's better than you at it, by 5x is better than you, and it's not very much a month per month, I can just send all the clips to him. He'll edit it, post it, and then that gives me my time back because I'm like prioritizing my time over anything because my main focus needs to be taking calls with clients, helping them out, building the program out, not creating content. Obviously I'm the one that's talking in front of the camera, but like editing, I would much rather pay somebody that knows what they're doing and can just give better results at the end of the day. So
I think that makes a lot of sense. You mentioned a little bit earlier that when you're building a business around some kind of educational program, that your personal belief is that you should build a personal brand rather than a business brand. Could you talk a little bit about why that is your perspective, what led to the decision to do it that way, and why you think that's a better approach?
yeah, for sure. So when I see people post on, you know, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, whatever, if you're advertising a business, you can't really put a face behind that business and know whose it is. Um, for example, like a great person I look up to is Alex Hermosi, and although like he started Gym Launch, um, every time one of their ads pulls up, I'm like, oh, like I associate that brand with Alex Hermosi, right? Because he's the one that like started it, got off the ground and everything. I know he doesn't really do that anymore, but if you kind of put your face behind a brand, it's easier for people to like associate that brand with something or somebody. Because if, for example, like if somebody's interested in my investing program, they are going to DM me. They're not going to DM like my company page if they want to book a call. And so, a lot of people just are like, yo, I genuinely like, what you do as a person, like your podcast, different stuff. So I think it's good to have, a face behind it because they're also kind of making an investment in you because they genuinely like you and your personality and stuff like that. And that's why I think it's important to like post a lot of content because a lot of people just watch the videos for you, not even like the content that you're talking about, So I think it's a great way to kind of build up your business that way.
I agree. I think people, I was just talking about this with someone on my last episode, and I think people really buy into a person themselves because in this kind of digital age, you crave those interpersonal relationships, and having that personal connection is kind of a necessity to make purchasing decisions these days, at least big purchasing decisions that carry a lot of weight with them. I think having that kind of personal connection really is necessary for that. So I think that makes a lot of sense. So another thing I wanted to get into a little bit is we were talking off air a little bit about just kind of current events. And I know what you talk about primarily in your content and with your business is finance. Wanted to get into some current events around finance. You had been filling me in on a couple. Do you want to give a little background on what you were telling me about with the FedNow program? That was actually news to me. I hadn't heard about this.
Yeah, so FedNow, I hate it, but so FedNow, say goodbye to all your payment processors, PayPal, Stripe, Zelle, what's another one? Cash App. Cash App CEO is now dead. He got stabbed in, I think, Los Angeles, which to me is very, suspicious. Like I told you off air, it just doesn't add up. I mean, a CEO just doesn't go and get stabbed like that. Um, so they're releasing around July 1st is when they're officially kind of like rolling it out. Obviously, it's in the works now, but payment processor called FedNow, and it's basically just going to be a better way for them to track um, our, you know, payments. So like if I were to Venmo you some money, I would be Venmoing you now through FedNow. So they would be able to be like, oh, well, Lars Venmoed $500 to Brody. Here's the tax you have to pay on top of that for the money you sent, or, something like that. And also, I think it's a very bad thing because it's a payment processor. It's not just like a mobile payment app. So if, I go to somewhere and buy something and they don't want me to buy something, they're just going to put my card on hold because it's going to tie into the banks, but it'll first go through FedNow and then it'll go to the bank. So if they don't, if I commented some hate crime tweet or whatever, then my account's on hold now and I can't buy eggs from the grocery store. So it's pretty scary, how much access they'll have to our personal lives and bank accounts and stuff like that now. But there's not really much, we can do about it, except just wait and see what it entails and, hope for the best. So
The big thing that comes to mind for me too is if it's going to be replacing things like Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, all of those, that technology moves, adapts, changes, gets updated very, very fast. And it's because business moves fast and it needs to. It needs to be able to adapt quickly. I don't think it's very controversial to say that most things run by the government move and change and adapt very slowly. And I just think that if payment processing has to be done through one central system like that, it's not going to be efficient and by any means of the word. Like I think it'll be very clunky, very not very user friendly at all. I mean, think about any technology that you have to use, like online DMV services, anything like that that is made by the government. It's usually made good and just good enough to work. And I don't think this is
right.
going to be very, very friendly to the average user. It's probably honestly going to weed a lot of people out of even being able to use payment processing if they have to use something like that.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, for sure. I totally agree. And it's scary for the small business owner that, to see how much, because I mean, like, I think if it's like under $800, like for example, if I Venmo you $800 or something, if you make or less than $800, it won't get taxed. It's like a certain amount. If it's just like maybe I'm paying you for like a lunch you paid for, or like whatever. So now I think a lot more is going to be taxed. Because it's all going through the FedNow thing. And like you said, I think it's going to be very slow because, stuff moves quickly. And I think they're trying to roll something out so new and so quick that it's going to like just suck, to be honest. So I don't know. We'll see. But
Yeah, hopefully not. You can only hope for the best, but like you said, we gotta wait and see. Another big event that you were kind of filling me in on. You're telling me that something about Nancy Pelosi doing something with her stock. What was that all about?
yeah, so apparently Nancy Pelosi is selling off a lot of her positions in companies, taking a loss on them. Um, obviously we don't know exactly why, but if you have any common sense, you know why, because of the way the market is and the economy is right now. Um, this could be a sign that we're going into a recession quicker than we think. Um, so, I mean, yeah, like I said, it's just a bubble, and we're just waiting for some person to, come by and accidentally poke it with a needle and you know. So um,
So
we'll see.
we're another thing, we're recording this on April 6th, and we're kind of through the whole crisis of the Silicon Valley Bank now. I'd like to get your take on, obviously, that seemed like it was going to be this huge thing that triggered some kind of massive collapse, that kind of like a domino effect, and we're on the other side of it now. It seems to have proceeded through without any kind of major fallout. But do you think that that's sustainable? Do you think that there's going to be some kind of effect that we feel from that later down the road?
I it's hard to tell now. Obviously, the bank collapse was huge, and it wasn't FDIC insured, so that money is not guaranteed by them. So they really don't owe them the money back, at all. Um, but the crazy thing is, my friend was telling me, and I had a conversation with him probably about a month ago, or not a month ago, probably like 2 weeks ago. Kind of right after this happened, he had went to get $8,000 out of his bank account. And they're like, well, sorry, we can do four. Like the max you can do is four. And he's like, what are you talking about? The max I can do is 4,000. Like it's my money. And, they're like, that's it. That's how much you can pull out. But they still had to make an order form for it. And it was like going to take 3 days or something just to get 4,000 out of his account, which is, that's such a small amount of money. And I don't know. It goes to show how fragile everything is. So I don't know, dude. I personally don't keep much money in the bank regardless, just because I think it's pointless keeping your money in the bank more than a few thousand, because you're not getting any. It's like 0.001% interest on it. That's why most of mine is tied up in investments or something earning me passive income. But it's hard to tell now. Obviously, that I thought that was going to be the start of like the great downfall, where the hammer finally strikes and everything breaks. But I think it's coming. I know that Biden just signed it's like $842 billion bill in case we go to war, which is not going to help the economy, just put us in more debt. So we'll see, but that's kind of all I know right now and kind of my predictions. So
What are some comment, because you deal with a lot of people that are trying to get into investing, maybe coming from a place of not really feeling in control of their financial growth or whatever that might come from. What are some bad money spending habits that you see that happen often, and how do you combat those bad money spending habits?
So the biggest bad spending habit I see is it's kind of like a dopamine hit when people get their paycheck. And then, let's fast forward a week from now when it's like midway through the week and they're like, shit, like I can't wait for my next paycheck. Like it's going to be great. I can't wait to be able to buy stuff and it's like they get this wave of relief, but they're still deep down like in that hole that they kind of can't get out of because they don't know how to budget their money. And a big thing I see is people spending a lot of money on stuff to look like they have money when they really don't. And that's kind of something that my mentor and my mom instilled in me, that, going out and buying a Louis Vuitton bag, it's cool. It's, sure, make you look cool, but like it doesn't bring you any happiness at the end of the day. It's just a bag. And so, my mentor literally, we can dive into this in a second, but like the most successful person I've ever met, and he buys his t-shirts from Target. They're all Hanes t-shirts, kind of like this black one. They're all black, and because he just finds value in other things rather than just blowing your money on stuff you don't need. And especially like I don't get it how people complain about money and then they'll go out and buy Starbucks or something for $7 for a latte, and then they're like, oh, like much needed this, I needed this latte. And I don't know, it's just a mindset thing really that needs to shift with people. And that's kind of what we kind of help them with a lot in the program, is that like mindset shift, because you have to have a good relationship with money before you can start really bringing in more money. So
I agree. You could be your income could 10x, and if you have terrible spending habits, your spending is going to 10x as well, and nothing's going to change. What does you mentioned that you kind of learned through your mentor, finding value in other things. What does success mean to you personally?
So success for me means making a lot of money. And when I see people come to me and that's their goal, I think it's a good thing, but it just depends on what you use the money for. So like for me, I want to be able to stretch my hands and feel no walls. I want to be able to, take my mom on a paid vacation to Italy and she doesn't have to pay for a dime. I want to be able to provide for my family and it not be an issue, and get to see the world the way I want to and experience the world the way I want to. I don't want to have to always be stressed or worried about money being an issue. And so that's why I've kind of made it my goal early on to set myself up for success early on, so I don't have to worry about that later, because the biggest fear of mine is having that regret later in life of what I could have become, um, rather than just be trying to become that person now, in my life.
I love it. Another thing I wanted to ask you is, just as you were kind of getting into that, how did you find a mentor and how has that helped you in your career path?
So yeah, my mentor David, I was very fortunate to know him my whole life. He was a family friend. So he started dating my mom's like best girlfriend, and that's how we knew him. And they bought a. So my mom lives. I have my own house now. My mom lives about 30 minutes away from me, about a block from the beach, and that's where I grew up. And my mentor David bought a house or a condo about 5 minutes away. And so we would always go to Thanksgiving with them because I don't really have too much family. They've all passed away or just bad relationship with my dad's side of the family. Dad's a horrible guy. Different, different discussion. But so what changed it for me, so I've talked a lot about this. So I was 19, working a full-time job, doing beach chairs. They make decent money because it's like a very expensive area where I grew up. And but we were having Thanksgiving and I was like, yo, David, like this sucks. Like I'm working 40 to 50 hours a week, all physical labor, like lifting chairs, heavy chairs all day. Like I'm sweating, all this stuff. Like the thought of doing this for the rest of my life I would probably rather like jump off a bridge if I'm being completely honest. And so he kind of was talking to me about like, because he didn't have the chance to go to college. Like he grew up extremely poor, and opened his own company. It was a plumbing company. It was this particular part on a toilet, and Lowe's actually bought him out for $500 million about 7 years ago. And getting access to him was, I'm extremely grateful for that. And learning through him and really him teaching me the value of things and the value of kind of investing in things so it makes money for you kind of on autopilot instead of having to like slave away so much time to make money. Because the reason I like investing so much is because even if you were like to go to school to become a doctor or anything like that, to make more money, you're going to have to increase your workload. You're going to have to increase the time you're doing, procedures, x-rays, whatever. I'm not really sure what they would do to, like make more money, but increase their hours basically. And so with this, like, I don't need to do that. You know what I mean? And he kind of instilled that into me to work smarter, not harder. And yeah, I mean, I haven't turned back, since 19. I'm 23 now. So, um, but yeah.
What do you see as the next steps for your business? What do you hope to do to grow it and move forward with it in the next kind of coming few years?
Um, yeah, honestly, I don't know. Like the growth we've had in the past month has been crazy. The end of last month, I was closing like 3 deals a day. It was crazy. So we're projected to hit our first 10K month in April this month. Um, and we've kind of already figured out our plan to not hit a plateau and to keep growing, um, by doing things like creating a lower ticket item and also creating a higher ticket item so more people can get in at the lower ticket item, and then we'll have, more of like the serious investors get in at the higher ticket items. Um, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it right now. I'm not really focused too much on like a 5 or 10 year plan or a few years from now. I'm just kind of mainly taking it day by day, and just, once I get to that end of this year, I'll look back and be like, was, what I did worth it or not? And I think that it will be. So,
Sounds like it's going really well so far. Congrats on all the success there. Um, so, kind of shifting away from the one business to focus totally on the other, how have you seen things? How have you seen focusing on the one thing rather than focusing on a couple things improve the one thing?
yeah, I think so. I mean, this is in a bunch of books. I mean, Your Next Five Moves is a business book that I really recommend by Pat Bet-David, Atomic Habits. But they all talk about like breaking down something like to a T, like every single part of it. Like, for example, like if we send out an email blast, like how long is it taking to send out that email blast? How many emails are bouncing? How many people are opening it? Like, if you break down every single aspect of something you're doing, and especially on when I started taking sales calls and doing that and knowing like how to really lead the conversation, that's when everything started to change. And I think so many people are figured on or are kind of set on like that big goal of like, oh, I want to hit 6 figures in my business this month. It's like, okay, well, like everybody does. Well, like, so how are you going to do that? Asking yourself those hard questions of, what's going to actually give you the best growth. Even like the smallest little details have made the biggest difference in our business. So it's just about, trial and error and figuring out what works and just continuing to innovate towards that goal.
What's an example of something that you thought was a very small detail that ended up making a massive impact?
I think the biggest thing for us has been to focus on one like kind of ad strategy, because at first I was trying to juggle all different platforms at once. I was like, oh, I'm going to market on YouTube Shorts, I'm going to market on LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Google, all this stuff. And if you focus on just one, and we're focusing on just Instagram, and really dial that in, find your ideal target audience, run tests, see what doesn't work, kill the ones that don't work, and just upping the budget on like your ad or whatever. That's what worked for us. Kind of a small thing. Also, adding in automations has helped us tremendously. Even like sending people a 30-minute reminder for our client calls has been a huge thing because it increases show up rate, stuff like that. So
Why Instagram over YouTube Shorts or TikTok for your business in particular?
um, so I've tried all of them. TikTok works good. I don't want to give out too much secret sauce to everyone. I'll tell you off camera why Instagram is just gold mine right now. But for Instagram, if, for example, since I'm building something through a personal brand, let's say you meet somebody in public to check them out. What are you going to look up? You're not going to look up their Snapchat, their TikTok. I mean, obviously, people that are older than us would look up Facebook, but people for our age, they're going to immediately go to their Instagram, right? And so if we can make the Instagram look super high value and immediately know what I do when they click on my profile, I just think it's the best way to go about it right now, at least because it's, I guess, kind of like a digital resume. So that's kind of our strategy about it.
I would agree with that. I mean, it's a lot easier to grow just numbers wise on TikTok, but and YouTube Shorts, I would say. I mean, my TikTok following for the podcast is like more than 10x what it is on Instagram, but I find guests for the podcast on Instagram. People actually can
Mm-hmm.
people actually go in and check it out and actually message me. No one messages me on TikTok about the podcast. People just go on Instagram. So I think it makes a lot of sense. It's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to just grow on TikTok, but you can't really take advantage of that growth very much. I've noticed.
Right. Yeah, goal for us too is we're really pushing content heavy. I mean, I'm posting on just different platforms and stuff, probably 8 pieces of content a day. And the main goal is to funnel them to the Instagram from those different, platforms. Because like you said, it's just, I get all my messages through there. So
Yeah, makes total sense. So I have a couple questions I always like to end every interview with, and you can take some time to think about them. And if you want, I can edit it because I forgot to tell you these ones before. But the first question I have is, and I would use starting your investment journey as the beginning point for this. But if you could go back in time and just talk to a younger Lars as he was getting into investing, getting into entrepreneurship, into this whole world, having done the things you've done, knowing the things that you know, having gotten to the point that you're at now, what are a couple things that you would tell him to do differently?
yeah, dude, that's easy. I got this right off the top of my head. So a lot of people don't know this, but when I first started investing, I lost around 20,000. So I was $20,000 in debt. And I kind of had to dig myself out of that hole. And then that's like the shift that I had where I was like, okay, like I'm like it, I'm getting my shit together. Like this is not acceptable. And obviously like talking with David and stuff like that really, motivated me. But I think that, yeah, I mean, the first thing I would do if I was, getting into this stuff, I would learn stuff first, like invest in learning, invest in programs, mentorships, whatever, before I just tried to dive into something head first. And that's just in anything in general. Like, you know what I mean? It's better to have the knowledge first so you don't run into these unexpected roadblocks, or learn for somebody that has gone through those roadblocks or over those speed bumps, and they can kind of show you and guide you to not, dive into that or fall into that hole. So yeah, for sure, investing more into learning earlier on. I'm still trying to invest as much as I can into programs, books, classes, stuff, but I really would have hammered it more, if I would have, known that.
That's a big, scary lesson to learn the wrong way. I'm glad you made it out of that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then the other question I have for you is the show is called Profession Session. And really my goal on every episode is to kind of get closer to answering the question, what is a professional? So my question to you is, what does it mean to you personally to be a professional?
Yeah, I think what separates, the 1% from the 99% is what really makes a professional, being in that top 1%, that everyone wants to be in. but nobody wants to do the work that the 1% does. And that's the big thing is motivation is only going to get you so far in life. And what people don't understand about motivation is it's a feeling. It's just an emotion. That's it. And so you can watch all these videos, listen to, David Goggins, Jocko, whoever you want all day long, but it's not going to they're not going to do the work for you. So there has to become a time in your life where you actually make that conscious decision to start putting in the work, because the discipline is going to get you a lot farther than, the motivation will. And that's what kind of separates an amateur from a professional is they're going to show up regardless of how they feel and do something, whereas the amateur is going to make all these excuses or, give themselves breaks or something like that. And I guess that's kind of, my thought process on it. And, having also the access to knowledge or knowing things, because a lot of people want to make money, but they don't even know what money is. They don't know what a bank does when they get your money. So they first need to learn about stuff like that and then try to dive into the other things. So learning is a huge part of it as well.
That's a very good point. Is you can learn all this stuff, but you gotta actually execute. You gotta take the action. I mean, they're the people that teach you how to do things are not going to actually do the things for you. It's a very simple point, but one that a lot of people need to hear, I think. Anything else that you would want to get into, share with the audience, anything like that?
I don't know. I guess I can close it off here, but last line. I want to, I guess, send a message to anyone watching that if you are on the brink of giving up, or it feels hard, or it feels tiring, and you think something is not going your way and it's time to give up, right around the corner is success. Because every area of my life where I've almost wanted to give up, right around the corner is that thing that I've wanted. And so if you just keep pushing, you'll get it. And I absolutely promise you that.
I totally agree. I mean, it's just a matter of time if you work hard enough and stay focused enough for long enough and put in enough work to the point where it's unreasonable for you to fail, then you won't fail. Well, thank you so much for being on, man. How can people find you? What should people look for to get in touch with you, find your business, etc.?
So yeah, my Instagram is Lars Raymond. You can find all my socials there. TikTok, everything's under my name. I have a pretty unusual name, so it's not too hard to find me. And then my podcast is called Over the Opinions. It's on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcast. And yeah, I'd love to connect with anybody watching. So.